Welcome, everybody. We're going to be talking about Teams, Microsoft Teams, and if we have any time left after this, we will get into a few Outlook tips as well. So Microsoft Teams is kind of a new product. It's been around for a while, but it's really gaining some speed in terms of its popularity and functionality. And Microsoft's kind of making that happen because it's forcing people that are using Skype to use Teams. Eventually, Skype won't be available, and people will be doing their conference calling that they were doing through Skype through the Teams app. And that's kind of Microsoft's way of introducing them to this new application and to also show them that there's so much more. So that's what I'm going to show you today, is just all the extra stuff. I know Larry's starting to use Teams already, and I think it was Matt, you were telling me you're using Teams. Rob, I'm not sure about you or Kim, if you guys have dabbled in it a little bit, or if you all are using Teams, because that's the whole purpose, is that you are on one. Yeah, you all would be using Teams because I'm sure you're all on the same team. So just a quick little definition for why Microsoft came up with Teams. They're looking at it as a place to bring people together, conversations and content together, so that things can be even easier to collaborate and achieve a bit more with all the technology that we have. So it's chat-based, but it's also meant for sharing files and calendars and videos and texts. So it tries to be the hub of everything. And when I first saw Teams, I was already teaching people about OneNote and OneDrive and SharePoint, and that was kind of a confusing world for most people in terms of getting onto the cloud that way. And when I saw Teams presented, I'm like, oh, this is the answer. This is what I need to teach first. And you almost can't teach it first, but the reason I thought to teach it first is because what happens with Teams is when you make a team, it will make a OneDrive for you. It will make a OneNote notebook for you. It will make a SharePoint site for you. So rather than going out and doing all those things separately, you can have it all channeled through Teams, so it becomes a much more unified and organized method of getting that particular job done. So I'm going to move around, and if one of you guys wants to unmute again, I don't mind talking with you as we're doing this. So I'm going to just show you around my sample Teams, and this is still fairly new for me as well. So if you have anything to add and you've done something, please comment as much as you can. So I have 4 separate teams showing here on the left side, if you can see that. And at the very bottom, you'll notice where it says join or create a team. So that's where you could create that new team. I'm not sure about your admin privileges within your office, if you guys are all able to create teams at random. Right now, by default, what will happen with Teams is when you create a team, it'll let you add people from your organization, so people that are on the same Microsoft Exchange server as you, and you can you choose any group of people from the organization. Adding guests is a setting that has to happen from your admin side for Office 365. So whoever has admin privileges, and Larry or Matt, I think one of you I was talking to about this, and you probably don't have admin rights to add a guest, but if you ask for the admin person to do that, if that makes sense for your organization, then you could add other people to your teams. And I think that's what we tried to do with, I made this team called MC Tech with Ag Resource. So that's my way of reaching out to you guys to provide information through the Teams app. And I know I invited Larry to this, and he tried to invite me to one, and it didn't work as of yet. So we still have to work on that, and that's more of a permission thing. Yeah, it says over here at the bottom, Connie's added Larry and Matt. So I can add guests because I'm admin for my Teams app, so it lets me do that. If you want to know how to add guests, if that is something that's possible for you guys and you have that ability, then I can certainly send you the notes on that. But I'm going to go back up here and just give you a little bit of a tour around. So let's start with mission. So as soon as you create a team, it creates what's called channels. And the channel you get by default is called general because it needs a place to hold information. So mission is the team, and then what's below it are what's called the channels. And the channels are meant to be different topics for that team so that you have a different place to look for information. So general is just that. It's just a general place for housing information for your team. And I'm going to start with conversations, which again, by default, you always get conversations as an area to work in for your chats. And you also get files as a default and Wiki. So these three things should come as soon as you make a team. Everything else you can add on, and I'll get into that in a minute here. So let's go back to conversations. So as I was doing stuff in this team, it was putting stuff into the conversation because every time beyond chatting, if I'm adding stuff like all these things, as soon as I added them, it put it into the conversation. So it's kind of like the idea of, okay, if there are people on my team, they want to know that I've added something. I mean, they could probably look up and see it, but here it shows, if I scroll down a bit, it'll show that I added like this do attach. This is kind of cloud conference room is available. And then it shows that I added Polly. And so I'll show you those things in a minute. So that's why, and I could have chose not to show that in the conversation because as you can see, it's getting a bit busy. There's a lot of information showing here. But it's just to the idea to inform people, right? So conversations is really easy. I mean, I can just start typing. So if I have, I'll just go to the bottom here and I'll type. Let's type a message. And as you can see, there are other things I can attach. I can format that if I want to make it look prettier. So that's all very exciting. I want to make sure it looks good. I'll underline it and everything. And then I can attach links. And well, you guys probably know what all these different things do. I can even highlight stuff. So it's really, oh, maybe that didn't work. There we go. Okay, and I can add GIFs. That's all those funny things that if you have a teenager or a kid around, you probably have seen them before. Those nice pictures with that maybe move or have some video to them, or and then of course stickers and video. The video here is kind of neat because as I'm chatting, so I'm going to just finish this chat, and there's a little send button which looks like a paper airplane, which is kind of cool in the bottom right. Hopefully you guys can see that. If I hit send, then that puts that chat in there. But I could just hit this meet now, and it will let me put a subject in. So meeting about Teams. And then I could say meet now, and that will notify my entire team that there's a meeting. So it'll give them kind of a notification screen, and maybe I told them ahead of time, or maybe they're on the chat with me. So this way, this is you getting onto Skype right away. I don't have a video cam on my desktop computer, so otherwise I'd probably be showing my face right now. But as you can see, there is the little icons at the bottom here to share. So if I was in a meeting with somebody, I could share information on my screen with them, plus upload other information or even start recording that. So I'm going to close that meeting. Okay, so the meeting part of it, I mean, that's not the only way to do the meeting. I just thought I'd take advantage of that little icon at the bottom there, but that's kind of breaks those boundaries of having that formal meeting or sending that invite. I mean, obviously you guys would need to know there's a meeting going on, but it lets you do it very fast without having to go to your Outlook and do the meeting invite and so on, or maybe other methods that you guys use right now. So I'm going to go further here to these other areas at the top within general, and let's just talk a little bit about them. By the way, in the chat, you see there's a paperclip here. So this paperclip would let me add information from my OneDrive or from my computer. I could add in that particular, let's just say that one. So I'm sending this file through chat right now. Oh, and it's just closing. Sorry, I didn't mean to open it up really. Okay, so I'm going to close it. It'll let me, it was letting me have the ability to edit it in there. But what I wanted to, I'm sorry, I didn't really finish that. That wasn't a very good demo there. I wanted to show you how if you add a file, actually what happens is it becomes part of your files in this area. So anytime you are in a conversation with somebody and you say, hey, take a look at this file, it puts it automatically in your OneDrive for that team or in your SharePoint for that team. So files, I believe, is looking at the SharePoint option for the team. OneDrive we'll talk about a little bit later when we go to adding another area here at the top. So I could also just, as you see with the files area here, I can just choose the upload button and pick an actual file that I happen to have ready to go and put that right into my team's files area. And there it's showing there. And so if I click on that, it then let me open up that file in here pretty easily. I just did a PDF of some information they had on the website about meetings, teams and meetings. And so one of the reasons I wanted to make a team with you guys was every time I find something neat about teams, I would just constantly be putting stuff into your team as far as resources. And so maybe we would have a section just for teams resources. And I'll show you what I did with Sturgeon Valley with that in that regard as well in a few minutes here. Another neat thing about opening up a file, so I'm going to open up this testing file. Just take a minute here. Is that it will let me edit the file right here. I don't have to go into Excel to do some editing. So this file wants, oh, I'm going to hit the edit button. And of course, anybody on my team could open up this file and add to it, just like you'd be able to within Office 365 and so on. Okay. And I'm going to close that file. Okay, so I edited it. Right in the Teams without worrying them. And that's already saving to SharePoint or in the cloud, so it's saving all the time. So that's why there was no save button there. But I just wanted to let you know that you don't have to open up your app to do your editing. I mean, obviously it's a bit more convenient and you have more options on your toolbars and such, but you have this ability here. Okay, another area that comes with Teams already is Wiki. And when I first saw it, I'm like, well, what is this? It's just like a text editor, but it's more than a text editor because it's, as you can see, it lets you do some formatting, right? And it also lets you have sections. So this is me saying, what is this? So the what is this is actually called a section. And this untitled section lets you put titles. So this wiki is like your knowledge base. So I look at it as, well, what page of information would be handy for this group of people? So I'm going to actually go to another example that I have here in SVF. Oops, open that one up. And I believe I have it under Cloud Tech. So under Cloud Tech, I just made a channel for this customer with just some cloud technology information. And in the wiki, I renamed the wiki, by the way, so I could right click on the title and say rename. And I called it Tips on Teams. And so in there, I just started building a little manual and I said, okay, using Teams, this is how you could find an email address and email that information to your channel. I'll show you that in a minute. How you can use a planner app, how you could integrate Teams. I don't think I got very far on that one. Oh yeah, a little bit. And then a quick step for email. So as you can see, the stuff in bold is just the heading, whereas the stuff below is a subtitle. So like title, subtitle, and then text is underneath. So this wiki is just a great information source, and I could have more of them if I wanted to. It's just a place for me to just start typing without having to have a Word document. It belongs to that channel in that team. So I kind of like that.
This is
Sorry?
very much just like OneNote really inside, right? I would compare it to.
Well, this is one page though, so just keep that in mind, right? And OneNote
Oh,
is a whole notebook. So yeah,
sure.
but good
Okay.
point. Thank you for saying that, because that, I mean, OneNote has sections and pages, so it kind of looks like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like your analogy. I think that's a good idea. That's a good way of looking at it. My question would be, I haven't played with it a ton. As I'm clicked in here, I'm just looking, my toolbar gives me lots of choices, right? I can put links in, I can put pictures in, a grid in. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I like what you said there. I think, if you didn't use OneNote for some reason, or if you wanted to have something other than that, this becomes a place to store information, but a very organized place is what you want to use it for, right? I'm going to go back to my mission channel, and let's just talk about OneNote for a minute. So I believe I did it. Where did I do it? I believe I did it under training. So if I go to my training channel, I have training over here, but this is actually my training notebook. So if I click on it, getting notebook information. So it's actually opening up my entire training notebook. Let's just see. So as you can see, there's all my different sections in my notebook. Right? And those are all my pages within a particular section. So I
So how did
already,
you get that to link in there?
good question. Yeah. So if I'm going and hitting the plus sign, so that's how we're going to add anything new. If I choose OneNote, it then looks at my OneNote and says, which OneNote do you want? So let's say I want Classroom. So it just lets you pick the OneNote notebook you want to attach to that team. Now, keep in mind when you're doing this, I'm doing this for myself, so I'm a team of one right now. I'm going to have I'm trying to invite guests so I can have more, and I'm going to actually have somebody else on my staff join me on a couple of other notebooks. So I'm not nearly as big as you guys, so it's easy for me to do a lot of this stuff. But what I was trying to get at is that if you're adding a notebook into a team, obviously your notebook should be shared with that team. Otherwise, they're just going to hit a wall when they try and click on that. I'm not even sure if they'll see a tab there if they're not a member of that notebook. Like, it's not going to give them access because you put it on the team. So that's why I say the order is kind of different that I'm seeing, is that I think you should make the team first, and then it makes the notebook, and then it makes the SharePoint, and then it makes the OneDrive. Because when you make the team first, you say, Larry and Matt and Rob and Kim and Dave are all part of this team. So immediately when I create a notebook, it assumes all of them are sharing. It assumes everybody's sharing the SharePoint and the OneNote. The OneDrive. So that's why I like that order of it. But yeah, you can certainly add after the fact. Does that make sense?
Yep, you bet.
Okay, great. Okay, so you kind of can't tell from the headings, right, that that's a notebook. It's just when I click on it that it's giving me that information. So these are extra things. Remember, after the first three, anything there is all extra. So if I go to SharePoint here, this is me connecting to a SharePoint site. And again, I have many different SharePoint sites, as you guys would have. So I just chose to connect to this particular site for this team. So they see this information. So I could be adding stuff to the SharePoint site without having to be in the team. I mean, I could be in any of these things independent of the team, and the team information is getting updated because it has all that stuff connected, which is so cool, right? I'm going to go to, I think it's resources. Sorry, I haven't memorized all my teams yet. Or maybe, no, it's not resources. Here, general. So under general, I have SharePoint as well in there, and I think I have a different site. Let's see. No, okay, I wasn't adventurous enough to give you a different site. But as you saw, when I hit the plus sign, that's where it's going to give me the choice to pick my SharePoint site. And this one, for some reason, isn't giving me a choice right now. I have to figure out. So I said it's mission. Oh, you know what? I might have to double check that. Maybe you're only allowed one SharePoint site for the team. Just think about that logic. What do you guys think? I think maybe that's, sorry, I didn't double check that, but that would make sense, I suppose. I mean, SharePoint, the SharePoint site is the idea of that is you have one place on the cloud, if you will, to store shared information for a group. So would your team only have one place for all their shared files? Okay, I'm going to write that down as a question because I'm not positive, but if you can have more than one. If you know the answer, go ahead and tell me.
Yeah, I'm kind of following along here on my version of Teams, and I've kind of hit that same thing on SharePoint. Like it comes up
Yeah,
with news, and home,
yeah.
and
So it's probably just one site then that it's giving us. I don't know if I'm just going to go to the SVF one. I don't think I've added a SharePoint site, did I? Did I have one in cloud? No, it may not make sense for me to add one to this one because this is for my customer. Let me just go to Mission Office. Hang tough for a second, guys. Okay, let me just try and add a different SharePoint site to this one because it's a different team. If you don't mind me experimenting on your behalf here. No, it looks the same. Well, let me just go to SharePoint Home. Let's just see what it does. Setting up your SharePoint tab. Yeah, so I suppose, okay, so look at how this one looks a bit different. I mean, it's kind of the same layout as the other one, but there's not very much in it, right? There's one thing here that says Microsoft Office created 4 days ago. And if I go back to the other one under training and go to SharePoint. Yeah, so the SharePoint site is, I mean, really this one, there's my team's wiki. It is keeping whatever files and information is in this team. So I suppose that's, I mean, that's what I said at the very beginning is I love the idea of making a team because then it creates your site for you. So it's not letting us, like with OneNote, I could hook into an existing OneNote notebook. SharePoint is not giving us that same ability to pick a site. It is making the site for you because of the team. Okay, so let's look at something else. I'll keep that as a note for myself. If I find out more information about that makes sense, then I can certainly throw it your way. But I'm pretty sure that logic would follow. So the other thing I have to show you here, well, there's a few more things, and that's if you look at my other tab here, I have Microsoft Office. And that one. Yeah, okay, that's just another OneNote example. Okay, sorry, I forgot what my tab was. So then maybe I should keep the OneNote information showing there. I renamed my tabs right away, and it's like, what is that? Classroom. Let's click on this one. Oh, that's a OneNote too. Okay, this is no more fun. Okay, sorry, I'll go back to my other example I had. So Cloud Tech, I'm going to go down here for a minute. So in Cloud Tech, I put a bunch of other apps, if you will, at the top to access. And so one of those, and I think Matt, you were trying this with me the other day. Polly's kind of a cool one. I don't think you found that one available to you guys, but Polly is an app that lets you create an instant poll. So my polls to this group is: do you want to start a casual Friday? 100% of the one person that answered it said yes. And then how do you handle emails? 100% of the one person that answered said delete as much as possible. So as you can see, this is a central place to see all the poll results. I can create a new poll just at whim. And then I can decide, what kind of question is this? So right now we're multiple choice multiple choice questions. And this one, let's just say agree or disagree. Teams easy to.
So we don't have this.
You don't,
We
eh?
don't have this function in ours right now.
Oh.
I'm not sure why.
Okay, sorry. Then I won't show it.
We have, like for all tabs, it says more apps, but yeah.
Can you? So if you go to more apps at the bottom, so what Matt's talking about, I think that's Matt talking, is at the bottom. When you go to more apps, where does it take you to this kind of area? And you're not seeing Polly there at all? I think you searched it, didn't you?
Correct. Yeah, we searched. I have you have 20 some apps there, and I only have a dozen.
Oh, okay. So there must be some criteria that's filtering it then.
Yeah, we have Survey Monkey here. This is one of them. They must just have certain apps that we're allowed to use, I guess.
Okay. Well, maybe keep checking here or find out, because maybe that'll change, right? So maybe there'll be some, because this area is being developed all the time. There's apps being developed for this application just continually. So I see this is going to grow, exponentially. So it'd be good if, I realize that probably makes sense for you guys not to necessarily have every single thing, but maybe there'll be some stuff that comes your way eventually, because it's going to help your team. So Polly's not there, but let's go back. Do you have Microsoft Forms? Oh, that's what I wanted to do. I have to go find my form. Where was my form? Sorry. I had a form.
Yes, we have the
Do you have that one?
forms.
I just have to find
productivity. Yeah.
Form. Okay, sorry, under general. So I have a form here. I'll just show you what that is. So Microsoft Forms lets you create a form right away. And so the idea is so to your channel, you're putting together a form you want them to fill in. So it just sits here with the questions, and as you can see, there's a place for gathering all the responses. And you can have as many of these as you want. So if there's something's going on with that group, you want them to fill out a form, this is how you can communicate it to them and gather all the responses. It's not a Word document, it's actually a separate type of file that Microsoft's housing for you. So I thought that was kind of neat. And pretty easy to add questions. And as you can see, when I hit add questions, I have the choice of a choice question, text question, a rating question, or something with a date on it. And there's even a few other ones as well that I can choose. Okay. Yeah, I like that one. Planner test. So another big area, maybe just double check you have this. I would think you would have this. This is called the planner. So maybe just double check and let me know. The planner is your way to have an organized space for your group to plan work together. You guys have it? So hitting that plus sign.
Yeah, we have planner.
Okay, good. Okay. Yeah, I guess it's part of the, I don't know if it's a Microsoft product or not, but I think it is. So Planner is kind of interesting. It looks like a to-do list, and it starts off with just the to-do list. So if you did nothing else, it says to-do. I added agendas here. And then it says add a new bucket. So I like their terminology. Bucket, I would kind of equate that to categories, if you're familiar with categories in Outlook. A way of organizing a group of tasks is what I would call that. So to-do is just general tasks, and as you see, if I hit the plus sign here, I can add in a task to send notes, and then I could put a due date on that task, say there, and I can even assign that task to somebody else on my team. So right now there's just two of us, so I'll just say it's assigned to me. Okay. And I can even go into this, and I'll hit add task, and then that puts it on here. If I go into this task, there's a little bit more options. So see there's 3 dots there kind of in the little grayed area. I can label this, so that's kind of cutesy. I can put a color on it. It doesn't really make a big label. It's a tiny little mark there. So I don't know how many people will be doing that, but that's an option. And then I wanted to just edit this. Okay, yeah, so if I click on it, it lets me into a much bigger screen is what I wanted to show you. So of course I can say, okay, just like Outlook will let me do, I can say I've started it, I can add more information here, and I can even add an attachment and put some comments in, or other people on my team could put some comments in if they want to. It says show on card. I'm just going to check that off so you can see what that looks like. So that show on card means more information is showing up on that little card display there. And it even lets me have an item. I haven't played with this one. The check an item. No, that's not doing anything. Okay, so I'm going to hit send or close to get out of here. Send would be if I was sending an assignment to somebody else. You see the red there, so I put a couple of tasks in prior, and the red is showing that it's overdue, is what that's telling you. And so adding a new bucket is really just putting a title on a group of tasks. So if I wanted to do training videos, let's see, that's my task list, and then I want to add a bunch of tasks. And I can just add the task. I don't even have to put a date on it. I mean, then of course that's not as great, right? Putting a task with no date means that you're really not committed to when you're going to get that finished. So maybe as part of planning, it would be better to have a date on it. So this is kind of called the board area, where you can see all the buckets, all that information that people have to do. And what's interesting is I was at with a customer the other day, and they were showing me this huge spreadsheet they had for organizing an event. And they had tons of information or tons of stuff going on at this event. So there was, food to order, and there was all kinds of people to organize. There's other vendors and other entertainment and so on. And so they had this huge spreadsheet that had all this information in it and it had all this color coding and all these people that were responsible for different stuff and where they're at. And as soon as I saw this planner, I thought, geez, they could just take this. I mean, they could really just say, okay, I'm doing who's in charge of the food truck vendors? Well, that's my bucket. And then you put all the tasks that are needed for that food truck vendors. Or if I'm in charge of food in general, then I put all my tasks that I have to do. And then that way the team could look at any time where I'm at by looking at this area. Plus, what I really love is that it gives you more stuff. It's giving you charts, so you can see like how much stuff's in progress, what's late, what's completed, what part of my tasks are my to-dos versus my agendas and my training videos. And those ones I know I have stuff in there, but there's no date on them. That's why it's doing that. And then how much work does Connie have versus Perry, and what's not assigned. I like this. What do you guys think? Is this possible that this could help you guys?
Yeah, I'm sure it could. It just all seems so new and so different right now.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I mean, when I was playing with this, I'm like, oh, what would you use this for? But when I saw that spreadsheet from my client, I'm like, holy cow. I said, forget that spreadsheet. I'd put it all in here. There would be no need. In fact, he showed me tons of files. I'm like, you wouldn't even need any of that. You'd maybe need some files I think of files as I need to print that out. Even if I have to email something, I don't think that's necessarily a file, but if I have to print it out and make it a document for some reason, or a promotional piece or something, then that's a file. But otherwise, it could just be information I'm storing in one of these areas within my team. Schedule is very neat too, because schedule is letting me see the stuff so there's the overdue, that test assignment and that evaluation, and then sending notes to the group is showing 2 days, and as you see, it's kind of highlighting what day is today. And on the side here, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think this. No, I was going to say, yeah, no, I think this is very relevant. Even we just had an event or whatever, and for say something like Denise to have this for us and for different people, I think would have been unreal for organizing.
Yeah, I love this. Now, only thing I'm not so excited about, and this will be another one of my questions that I write down, is I, of course, am a Outlook girl through and through. With this, I'm seeing that I don't think it ties into Outlook. I haven't seen anything yet that says, save as a task in Outlook. And when I made these tasks previously. I should just double check my tasks, but I'm pretty sure those tasks are not showing up in my Outlook. What is neat though is as that task is coming due, it's sending me emails all the time. You have a task that's due this week, so it's sending me notifications, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so that's my only thing. I'm going to double check that a bit more. But I guess the point is I don't need to be in my Outlook. That's what Microsoft's trying to tell me. I need to be in my Teams area to do my work, right? Because if I want to know what's going on as far as my schedule for the day, by the way, if I click on meetings on the left side here, that does show me my Outlook calendar. So I'm seeing that right away. Stuff like that, right? I'll go back to Teams there. So I really like the planner, is what I'm saying. And that'd be great if you guys can. And I like the idea that it's for that team as a whole. So that kind of maybe hopefully helps people shift their thinking as to what channel do I have? Because a channel has a planner. So you want to keep in mind that this channel has all this stuff here. So when you're organizing, think about, this is probably the same group of people under the SVF Tech, but there might be different committees or groups that work in each channel. So what do they need to share? And if all of them need to have something, then that's where General would help you. You'd have the planner under General possibly, right? I'd add it right here. A couple of other little points, and then I should probably move on, unless you, let me find out if you guys have questions as well. There is a place when you're hitting the plus sign, it gives you things like PDF, and it gives you Excel, and it gives you Word. What that does is, I'm just going to show you the PDF one first, is it just lets you organize the PDFs that you might have attached and then view them. So this is just a PDF that I attached. And it's just showing that one PDF in this area. So I left it as PDF so Connie wouldn't forget what it was called or what that was. I could have renamed it to say Cloud 10 this, and just knowing that the type of tab that is really a PDF tab. So for my team, you'd probably want to rename these things, but just for showing you guys, I thought it would be helpful to keep it as that word. Same with the Excel one. I probably wouldn't keep it as Excel, but I'd rename it to be what Excel spreadsheet am I showing. So this is just showing one spreadsheet and letting somebody open it up and see that information at a glance without having to go edit and view and preview and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was kind of neat to just have one tab. So if there's one spreadsheet, one Word document, one PDF that you're always trying to access, it's right there. And when you click on it, it's open. So that was a neat one too. Programs. Sorry, I need to do a wiki on what all I have. Well, this is just one of my OneNotes again. See, I obviously need to say OneNote or something beside these things so I remember what they are. I imagine after being in this for a long time, right now I'm still in the let's use this product and play with it a lot. I don't have everything memorized because I keep adding stuff everywhere. So what do you guys think? Any questions? What do you want to share with me that you are feeling right now in terms of the usefulness of this?
The one thing I'm not sure about on our side is just making sure everything ties back in together. So for example, with SharePoint, if we link SharePoint and start editing files, is that updating then on the actual SharePoint?
Yeah, this whole thing, every piece of information in here is living in SharePoint. So if I go, let me just go back to, let's see if I can have any memory about where this is. I think it was under my training one. Yeah, so under training, I have that SharePoint. So any files I currently have are saved right in SharePoint right away. That's where it has to live. So if you add a file into your conversation, it's putting it into SharePoint. Your messages, your chats are being saved as well into SharePoint. Everything that you do in this team is supposed to be in SharePoint. So I'm gonna just double check. I'll put that on my list as well. Is there anything that isn't being put into SharePoint that's in the team? How about that as a question? Is that fair?
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. And the other thing would just be is if you have multiple people in the same files, how is that notification shared?
Okay, hang on a second. I'll just put one. Okay, so say that again. So if I have multiple people in the files, how is that notification shared? As in, if I update a file, how are you notified that I updated the testing spreadsheet?
Yeah, so if both of us are in a file that's on the SharePoint and we both hit save, or both of our changes being saved, or how is
Oh, haven't you guys worked with that already? Within your...
Have you guys come across that? Matt,
Well,
Larry?
sometimes you get a message saying like this is opened already by somebody, so you only get a view version of it, kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, so it's typical.
That's not, okay, so the whole point of Office 365 and say Word or Excel being stored in SharePoint is that any of you guys should be able to open up that file and start working on it. As soon as you type something and hit the Enter key, I would see your initials pop up on my Excel or Word document, knowing that you typed something there. Like it's instantaneous.
I can't say that I've ever seen that. Yeah.
No, I don't think ours is set up like that.
So then where's your file, your files are being stored in SharePoint though? That you're accessing? These are the ones you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yep.
That is odd. So why aren't you getting a notification? So you don't see like people's names attached or initials attached to updates?
No.
No. At least not with the Excel files.
Yeah. And we pretty much live in Excel sheets for reconciliations, for sales orders, for
everything, whether
offers.
it should be or not.
Okay, maybe what I'll have, this one I'll probably have to work with one of you, so you or Kim or Larry, maybe I'll work with you. I need to look at that while you're doing it, and then I might get Microsoft involved in just kind of verifying what's going on there, because that's really, that's the whole point of that product, of this product. Is
unless that's something that the company has
turned off. Yeah.
Cut off.
Oh.
Yeah, but
too bad.
I think for the most part, when we're in SharePoint, like we can't really look at everyone's files in everyone's territories, right? Like we have servers that are shared, but like Larry came into mine, he may not. I can't go into his files, but for right now, I think he's set up where he can look at mine. But I know what you mean. It should be, whereas if anybody goes in there, it would show you the next time I come in what things have been changed by that person, right? Is that the idea?
Yeah. So you're right, actually, Kim, when you said that there's probably a setting that's been turned off, and I wonder how easy it is to turn it on again, or if that's an admin restriction. Okay, that's on my list, so I will talk to one of you guys further about that once I've checked into it a little bit more. You guys are giving me lots of homework. Should be writing this down on my tasks.
One of the things we do is, like, if we're, as a territory manager, working on a sales order form that has a bunch of tabs at the bottom and we've added to it, then we, it's set up. A lot of them are set up with that autosave on it, so you don't even have to save it. You just close it and it's updated. But then we send an email to our customer service department saying, hey, I just made a change to tab 4 for this customer. And then that notifies them to go in there, open it up, look at it, and then go into our Agrosoft system and set up the sales order, like into our accounting system, based on what we put into that spreadsheet. Yeah.
You're manually having to tell people you updated something.
Yes.
They're missing the whole point of this product.
Might
as well go back to Office 2007. Interesting. Okay, well, I will definitely talk to. So I guess what I'm saying, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be commenting like that. But what I'm saying is that this product, by default is supposed to be doing this stuff. But obviously there's lots of restrictions or settings that anybody can put on stuff, and to be protected, I imagine that that's definitely looked after for a company your size. So let's look into it and see what we can do about that. Because it would
So
be
just like a comment on Teams itself, like if you let your imagination run wild here, but maybe this is where we'd be doing all of our reconciliations and our also our sales orders is through Teams. Like it's organized through Teams. That's how you'd access it. That's how you'd work on it and update it. And then maybe then your customer service department would know that this is where they go to look for stuff, or this is where they get a notification that something's changed, eh?
I think there's definitely opportunity there, Larry. I think we just have to map it out what it looks like.
Yeah.
If we can get them, it sounds like they're kind of already on Teams with Ryan, right? So
yeah.
I think we just need to kind of figure out how to map it and what that notification piece looks like. Firing emails back and forth.
Right. Like if we could skip that process, that email process.
Oh, that's the whole thing. Like, I mean, this is supposed to make you guys just know stuff right away, and it's just the whole point. It's almost like you're in the same room together, because this is what this is meant to look like. You have this huge board in this room where you're all sharing, the open office concept, and you can see what's going on, and people are putting stuff on that bulletin board, or they're telling you stuff, or you're having conversations. That's what this is supposed to be like, an environment of just complete open office for that group.
Because the challenge with emails is sometimes, you go in and you make some changes and you forget to email. Right?
Yeah.
It is another
the other thing would be is making sure that if we flip to Teams in a way and all of that information flying around, that it's still captured and something doesn't get missed that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Because if that board gets so active, if there's 14 of you posting in there, I can see stuff getting missed.
Yeah. Although, I mean, it does look a little scary, because it's kind of like looking through your Facebook. You're scrolling up and down, and you're like, I'm done. So there's ways to filter stuff out, and I haven't really even gotten into that at all. But yeah, I understand what you're saying, and this stuff in conversations, by the way, ties into these other areas as well. So I may not want to be looking through all my conversations to find something. I might want to just go to my Polly and see what the latest poll is. Right. And as opposed to figuring out, if someone put a poll on my conversation 3 days ago, or whatever, sometime today, if there's 100 of us in this team, it could get really busy. So I'd go to the spot possibly to see the information. A couple more things, if I can show you. And it looks like we're going to talk mostly about Teams today, by the way. So did you guys have anything more to add, or can I carry on?
Carry on.
Okay. So just a side note here, I do have, I did make a plan on this particular example where I have, the buckets of advertising and scheduling vendors, kind of that idea of the event. And of course it has charts and apparently no color there for some reason, and the schedule. And then you could have another plan. So mine's called another plan, but obviously you'd have another name for it. But so you're not limited to one of these things, which I thought was kind of neat, because it's kind of like when you think about a group of people that work together, that's like, well, what about this? Well, what about this that we have? So you have to decide, does it make sense for me to grow my channel, like this group of people that working together on this one thing, and then just add the stuff here, or should I make another channel? So that's kind of where that structure comes in, and organization, because you could get really busy in one channel because maybe you put too much in there and it should have been another channel. So the channel is kind of like another topic, another area of your work, another group of people that get together for this reason. It might be the same group. Maybe there's 3 of you that get together for one thing and 3 of you get together for another thing, but they're 2 different things. I wouldn't have the same channel for those 3 people. I'd have 2 different channels for the same people, just so I have a way of organizing this stuff. And another thing, as far as quick little tab, is that there is the ability to put a website address right in there. Sorry, I should have put your website address in there, but I did this the other day. So this is just showing the About tab on Sturgeon Valley. And so again, rather than just Googling to something, maybe you're referencing some information that you want to look it off, and on that website, it has it right there. So that's what makes this so neat. One area I talked about earlier that I haven't shown you was the ability to get an email in here. Because as I was putting stuff together for my channel, I thought, I need to send them this email that I just received about this information. And so I sent it to the channel. I'll show you how in a second. But what it did is it put it in my conversation. So let me just go to my conversations. I don't know if I can find it. So this is my notification I was saying earlier about you have a upcoming task due. It's giving me those all the time. So it put into my conversation. I obviously did a lot of polls. Yeah, I'm not finding that. Maybe this is it here. This is the email. So I see, I did have to scroll up a bit. So I'm kind of with you guys. If there was like 50 people on my team, I wouldn't know. Yeah, you'd scroll up a little bit, but I'd rather look in these organized places for my information if I can. So it put it there, but if I'm having trouble finding that email, I just go to my files and then email messages, and then it would show all the email messages that I sent to this channel. So I'm just going to go over to my Outlook now. I think it's still on the same screen. You guys are still seeing it?
Yep.
Okay. So there's a couple things I was going to show you on Outlook, and that's why I made Larry send me a whole bunch of emails back and forth this morning. But let's start with the idea of sending this information to my team. I missed a piece of information I got to tell you before that. Sorry. Hang on. You need to know what the email address of your team is. So how you find that out is these 3 little dots beside the channel name. You just say get email address. And that's the email address of this channel for this team. So see how it says Cloud Tech SVF? The email address, by the way, is not this part. It's what's in the brackets. It's this part. So you can certainly just say copy. It'll copy the whole thing, but just be careful when you're emailing. It won't like this part here. I'm sure you know that. So you'd copy that. I've already done that. I don't know if I should double check which one I did though. Actually, sorry, I'm going to do that one again. No, I must have done that one because I've emailed stuff here. I'll just copy it anyways. So I'm going to do it this way just because I don't want to hit the copy button and then fix it later. And now I'm going to go back to my Outlook. And I made a quick step for this, so I could just say, hey, this email that I received from Larry needs to be in that team area. So this quick step lets me forward an email to that email address. Is that the same email address? Yeah, that's the same one. Sorry, this was, I copied the other part of it, didn't I? Okay, so that's kind of cool, isn't it? I guess I should send it there. Sorry, I'll just send it there, just so you can see it. So do you guys know how to make a quick step in Outlook?
Yeah, we do, yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go to my conversations, see how fast this updates. Probably not fast enough. It's like waiting for water to boil. Oh, there it is, right there. There's that email. So it sent it right to the conversation. And then if I go to files, go to email messages, there should be a third message there. So I can then, I'm going to delete this one, but I just want to show you that option too. I can just delete. And by the way, see how it says open in SharePoint. So this is part of SharePoint, of course. So I'm deleting that. So go to my conversations. Let's just see if I can delete that from my conversation. And I can. And this might be a permission thing too. I don't imagine you guys can delete just anything off a conversation. It's probably what you've done. But that I'm sure is dealt with your membership permissions and restrictions and such. So So I thought that was kind of cool to be able to do that as well, because I want to get information into my team as much as possible. And so it gives me that ability to, of course, use that other place that you get information, which is in your email.
So Larry, one thing I was thinking here, even for like say our Alberta TMs or ever general, and if we had a, what do we call them on the left? Like it starts with general, OTADA channel. Oh yeah, if we added a new channel, like even for transfers and things like that, right? If we had a logistics coordinator and us, and we have our own channels, and one channel might be transfers, anytime there's a transfer in there, then all three of us are always seeing it, right? You know how we always sometimes CC you and I don't CC them or things like that. Could this be something, same thing with the channels? Here's transfer channel, and you know, you send that or put that in there, then everybody would always see it, right?
Yeah, I never even thought about that, like dealer to dealer transfers. Yeah.
Yeah, right. If we had that in our, like for Alberta and our logistics coordinators, and one channel we had was called transfers. Every time you do one, you put it in there, and then everybody knows it's in there.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
One thought.
No, I like that. So on the left, I mean, as you see, I'm kind of working in this area here, and this can get pretty long. My idea is I want to have a team for as many customers as possible, so I can share information with them this easily, this quickly. I don't have to email them. I'm putting their notes in here. I'm putting stuff I find about what we've discussed or taught in here, and so it just keeps an active link to my customer always. And as you see, this is highlighted in bold because it's interesting, because somebody has sent something to me. Like bold is supposed to be when you get something new showing. This one.
Oh, okay.
Although this is funny because I'm a team of one here because Larry and Matt haven't been able to join me yet. So I don't know what was bold. Me telling me I sent myself something? I don't know.
Yeah, I checked with IT or tried doing it yesterday and again this morning.
Yeah.
And they're more or less in right now. We can't outside of our organization.
Okay.
I'm not sure, Kim, if you can try looking into it more as well. I talked with Ryan about it too, and he said I don't think it's set up for that, but I think we have to, I guess it's a big Cargill question, but if we can see like why won't we use this tool to work with our customers, I guess.
Because I think
it's probably a security thing, but I can check it out a little bit if you want.
But
sure. Yeah,
as far as security, that I'm going to put that on my list of questions. I'm going to fill my team's bucket of questions with all these questions. But I'm going to find out about that for you, because really the whole thing that Microsoft is always promoting is the fact that they're spending $80 billion a year on security. So they're making sure that their environment is secure for your information. That's the whole point. And security. I'm thinking as an outsider, if I'm coming into your organization, you'd be worried about, am I bringing, some spam or some stuff that can compromise the integrity of your system, right? So if something gets into my system, is it going to get into your system? And that's kind of the security that I would think I'd want to just verify that that's not possible, right? So, but yeah, so if Kim, you check on that from your end, and I'll check with Microsoft on what they can provide for materials on that as a way of you guys feeling more comfortable with the product.
Sounds good.
So just another side note, and I know we're at 10 o'clock, so you guys are going to need to go. But if I go just to the very top here, there is a little menu or toolbar on the very, very left, and I kind of went to a couple of them already. I'm in the Teams one all the time, but if I go to activity, that is where it's showing me who's done stuff recently. So this is not me, this is somebody else. So the only person that's actively a part of my teams right now is Andre, and he has replied to a couple of things. So it's letting me see that feed, and I do have the ability to filter all kinds of stuff, what I haven't read, and stuff like that. So there's even more apps I can get into that help me with the filtering. And I believe I can go in here and then, yeah, it's kind of like email, mark as unread. Guess I wouldn't want to put anything else on it there. It already is shown as unread, by the way. So there's the chat in one particular screen as well. So we want to see all the chats. So who's been chatting with me? So I'm not very popular yet. So the only one I have here is with Dexter. And then if I go to my contacts, there are other people that I could chat with that aren't chatting with me, but I could chat with them. So apparently, well, there isn't anybody I can chat with. Sorry, I lied. The contacts would be within your organization, who's part of your team. So I right now I'm working on changing that on mine, but I only have myself on my Exchange environment, but I'm going to put a couple of other people on it. So then my contacts would grow to be 3 people. And teams we're in, meetings I showed you really quick, that just pulls up my calendar from Outlook. And then files is kind of a neat area because files is letting me actually look at my OneDrive or my SharePoint. So this is all coming from recent files that I put into my OneDrive. And you can see here location, OneDrive, and so on. And then I could just look at the files that I have in Microsoft Teams. So that's all my files within Microsoft Teams. And it's telling you where it is. And so there you're seeing the sites. Wherever it says sites, that's a SharePoint site. And so these are all mission sites, and then the SVF Tech made its own SharePoint site. Okay, and then I can just get to my OneDrive from here, or it's also letting you tie in. You can tie in other clouds. At the very bottom here, it says tie in other cloud storage. So I could tie in. I just put Dropbox on here just to show you that that's possible. I use Dropbox with some clients that that's what they use, so I have to use it. But you've got that ability to add in iCloud or whatever other storage you want. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with all of that. Hopefully that's enough information to get you working a bit further on this awesome tool, and I hope these tips have helped you. And I'd love to have a team with you guys at some point, or I'll just have to email you my information and you throw it into your team in the meantime.
Well, no, thanks for this. I know I sort of hijacked what we were going to do today, but this is something I think pretty new and exciting anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely our organization. Like I said, I don't know how much we'll be able to reach out to our customers, but at least for now, but even internally, hopefully there's a lot of efficiencies that can come from this too.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I've recorded this presentation, so I will put it on a Dropbox because that is the most convenient sort of neutral site for most people. Can you guys access Dropboxes, or do you have a site you want me to put it on for your purposes?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Why don't we try the Dropbox, Connie?
Okay.
And we'll see.
Because
yeah.
Okay, well, we'll try that and see if you can access it. Or, I mean, I could share it from my OneDrive, but I'm assuming you wouldn't have access to having a link from OneDrive, or SharePoint from me. But the other thing I can do is I could even put it on my website, and you could just watch it as a video on my website, and I could just tell you the address. Can you guys get, if I send you a HTML, like a hyperlink in the email, does that seen as spam for you, or can I send you that? Like a link?
No, we can. Yeah,
that should work.
Yeah.
Should work? Okay, because I have a Vimeo channel I use as well. Well, you're using the Vimeo. I might put it on there. It's just a big file. Yeah. Did anybody access the iPhone notes I put on Vimeo? Yeah, it was that popular. Eh? Okay. What I did with the iPhone is I just made every single topic that we talked about a separate little video, so you don't have to go in there and listen to a whole hour and just go, oh, I don't need to hear that. You can just go to the exact topic. And there's one on photos that Larry and I really got carried away with talking about last week that is worth checking out. Some cool stuff that you can do. So.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thanks for your time, guys.
Thanks, Tony.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, later. That's good.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.